Welcome back to the channel, guys. You guys have seen supercars fixed up. You've seen some of the fastest vehicles in the world. But what I have in my garage right now could be the fastest truck ever built. My Toyota Tacoma. This thing is absolutely an animal, and the whole point about today is we are going to go through this thing top to bottom. I'm going to tell you the powers, what it was built for, the aero on the truck, everything that includes it being the world's fastest truck, and I am going to let you guys decide if that is true. Now, this is like no vehicle ever built. This is like you take IndyCar, you take a McLaren, a Lamborghini, you take whatever road race car you could think of, and you put it all into one vehicle, and that's exactly what this truck is. So let's just start out and get right into this thing.
I hit recorded drop, you can't ignore it. I'm transforming now these cars and planes, I'm always boarding. Just out touring.
This truck is, again, not like any other vehicle, car, truck ever built. It is strictly built to perform. So every single part of this vehicle is handmade, including the fenders, the entire chassis. The only thing we technically utilized of a Toyota Tacoma is these two doors, the A-pillar all the way back, and the rear window. Everything else is 100% handmade. And what's cool about this truck is the power plant that's in it. I'll pop the hood in just a minute, but I want to show you guys and start with the body on why this thing is so important. Now, looking back, I'm going to pull up a rendering right now on the screen for you guys. So as you're looking at that, you can see what this truck was. Now, this is an exact picture of the truck in the computer before we actually built it. I'm going to pull up another rendering of an IndyCar. And when you're looking at this, you could really start to see a huge resemblance in why we actually wanted it to look like an IndyCar with have function. Now, with that being said, let's start out with the weight ratio. We had to bring as much out of the front of this and throw it in the back as possible. So with that, we had to move the radiator, the fuel cell, every little thing we could. We had to pull weight back. We have 55% of weight in the front of this truck, which is actually pretty insane. But that's exactly what I wanted to be able to perform the way it performs. And with that, you can see this is now our CBR radiator. And with that, we have our air ducting exactly like an IndyCar, popped all the way on top of the roof, right in front of the window. And now all the air ramming is actually rammed straight through there, goes all the way back and forces straight through the radiator, which is pretty insane. This is the fuel-safe fuel cell in the back. It is a 30-gallon, and this thing takes 118 octane. 118. It's like, I think it's right now it's about $9.90 a gallon. Yeah, it's pretty insane. And I can tell you that it only does probably maybe 1 mile a gallon. But anyway, so with that being said, 118 octane. What motor do we have in this thing? The hood's popped, you can see everything. This is what you're looking at. This is a TRD NASCAR Cup car motor. Literally out of a NASCAR. Like, full on, you watch on TV, that's exactly what this motor is. You can't even buy this engine. I can't even take this engine apart. Why? Because I'm not allowed to. TRD gave me strict instructions. They said, hey, if you guys want to work together, here's the motor. You cannot do anything else but build an exhaust for it. Now, it's kind of a bummer because we want to see inside and see exactly what they did, but you got to think, they literally have hundreds of millions of dollars developing this engine to perform as fast as possible, because in NASCAR, these guys are pulling every single horsepower out of all these motors to be the fastest. So with a power plant like this, you will never see and a Toyota Tacoma again. The horsepower in this is 900 horsepower naturally aspirated. That's probably one of my favorite parts about this truck, is it is not boosted. The horsepower is instant. And the craziest part is I literally have a 10,000 RPM chip in this thing. So put it this way, most cars are around 4,000 to 6,000. That's the RPM. This thing's 10,000. So when this thing passes you, it sounds like 5 street bikes just ripping wide open. It is just the craziest sound ever. But yeah, this power plant, it's a 14.1 compression engine, and it just screams. What was cool is we got with Gibson Exhaust, and you could see how beautiful these headers are. And what was crazy about it is they had to be all equal length. So let me really get in here. You could really see the detail. And what was hard is this truck is so small. Again, you got to remember, this isn't a car or a full-size truck. Like, there is hardly any room in this thing because of how much roll cage is actually in this, because I wanted it to be able to do everything. Now, getting into, besides the power plant, I built this truck for these types of racing, and you understand why the truck is built the way it is. First one, I wanted it to drift. So what did we do? This tire turns 74 degrees. You can see the A-arm setup right there. So when you're sideways in this thing, when you pull this handbrake right here, it engages the second set of calipers, this caliper right here on the rear tires, and that'll lock the tire. And then this wheel right here will turn literally like a forklift. It'll be about 74 degrees. And that's what allows you to be in control while being sideways. So with that being said, the next thing was I wanted it to be able to road race. Now with road racing, camber caster, toe, there's so many different factors that go into that. So that's the other thing. For drifting, we have it about 3.5 degrees cambered. Camber means the wheel in the front is actually tilted in, and that allows us different adjustments. Now, we could make this straight up, we can make it positive, negative, we could change the toe. We have all the adjustments on the rear of this thing, and it just makes it extremely easy to adjust and go race. The next thing is I wanted it to be able to go do rallycross. I know that sounds funny, but look at how beefy this entire truck is built. I mean, look at all the roll cage. When I open this, you can see how much roll cage is in there. It's built exactly like a rallycross car or a trophy truck, if you guys know what that is. And there is not anything shy of safety in this thing. I mean, this is full 4130 chromoly. All the plating on this truck is 4130 chromoly. Nothing else was used besides chromoly. Chromoly, for those of you that don't know, is a type of metal that is extremely strong. You can hardly drill a drill bit through it. And that's what we used on this truck. I would argue that this is one of the fastest trucks ever built because you have the adjustment to change the truck for. It's all about adapting. When you have a race car, it's usually built for one thing. This is a race car that is built for many things. So going inside, it's very important. Right behind the motor is right here. It's a transmission. It's called a 6XD, and what it is this right here is the shifter. So when you shift this thing, that's a gear. So this is a 6-speed sequential. And the cool part about it is you don't even have to let off the gas, and you just keep going through the gears. My sound effects are pretty good, but that's how it goes. You just rip it. Behind the transmission, we go to the back, and here's another cool function of the truck. We did a complete quick change rear end. So what that means is, you would see this in a lot of like, this would be in like a lot of dirt circle cars for quick adjustments. But basically, if we needed more speed on the straightaway or less speed, we could pull out the back of that case, and there's 2 sets of gears. We could make a gear change in this truck literally in less than 5 minutes. You barely drop any oil. So if we were in a bind and had to change something extremely fast, we could. What is crazy about this truck is you look at these fenders. Let's look at this side. You could see how wide this truck is. So this is a 16-inch bulge. 16-inch bulge. So this, literally, it's a mid-sized truck, but it's wider than a factory full-size truck. That is how wide this truck is. You could see the hips on this thing. It is just so wide. And what's crazy is we designed these fenders, and they're perfect now. But the process, which I'll pull up some pictures right now, the process is, as you're seeing this is foam that has been machined out on massive mills. And these fenders, like you can see the hood vent, all this is machined out of 4x8 chunks of solid foam, and then it's put into molds to make fiberglass fenders. Now ADV Fiberglass killed it on this truck, because not only did we have 3 months to build this truck, they went through and made everything perfect. So ADV, when you're looking at this thing, they machine the front and rear fenders. They machine the side skirts. This entire diffuser is also all machined out of fiberglass. And everything about this truck is built for function. So when looking at it, this body kit isn't just for looks. When you shut this thing up and really start looking at it, you can see the aerodynamics all the way through from the front to the rear. And that's what's interesting about this thing, is just the detail to every little piece on it. And the wrap was kind of fun to design. We designed this with my buddy Matt, and we just wanted something looking crazy, kind of to match the truck. I will be honest, if it was a solid color, you would see a bunch more of the detail, but that's kind of what's fun about this thing, is you really have to look on how crazy everything is on this thing. One of my favorite things that some of you may have noticed on my Instagram is you got your passenger, you got your driver Sparko seats, but we threw a third one in here. So this is a full 3-seater, and it's actually pretty dang comfortable as well. Full carbon fiber dash. We have all of our electronics. We have all rugged radios. So I mentioned IndyCar in the beginning. Now I wanted that to stick in your guys' head, because you think about IndyCar, you know, racing is one side. What is the next most important step of an IndyCar? That's pit stops. So what's cool is you look at all these wheels, and what do you notice? You notice there's no lugs. And what this is this is called a forged line center lock race wheel. And what that means is there is only one lug nut now. It's a 3-inch lug nut. So if we got to do a pit change, we only have one nut to pull off of this thing. And here's the next best thing about this truck. You look into here, and you can see that thing that says All-Star. Well, what that is that is a full air jack on all 4 corners. And then here is where you would stab 300 PSI of nitrogen. So you guys know what that means? That means you pull into the pit, you stab that with air, this truck flies off the ground, and you literally have your pit crew pull off one lug nut per side. They could change all the BF Goodrich tires, and then we're ready to go back on the road. Exactly like an Indy car. So we have the look, and now we have the function. Well, part of the function. Indy cars are pretty gnarly, but we have a huge amount of the function as far as the pits, and this truck actually does handle like an Indy car in a way, depending on what track you're on. But that's probably one of my favorite things about the pit style that we could do in this thing, and it's a huge bonus for a race car. Again, guys, I don't want to overwhelm you with the information on this truck. We'll have more episodes, but really, I've never really done a breakdown, and I want to start doing a breakdown with all of our builds, everything that we're doing, so you guys really understand why we're doing them. And you also get to see the things we do and why we do them. You know, this truck, again, it's a show truck, it's a race car. So there's a happy medium, but again, this truck is built to annihilate whatever course it's on. I mean, that is the point of this build. So everything is replaceable. If we wiped out the back of this thing, I literally could cut off the whole back of the truck, have it made on a CNC equipment. All this would come in a pallet, and we could completely refixture the truck and build the entire back half. Now, with that being said, we design with tech consulting the entire chassis. So when you're looking at this thing, everything is done on the computer before we ever started this truck. You look at the roll cage, the front end, the A-arms. I'm actually going to pull up some pictures right now as I'm talking about it. As you can see in these pictures, this is Justin Yeager welding together all the A-arms. Now, this is a lower A-arm. You could see some roll cage happening. You could see the truck coming together. And that's exactly how this thing came together. It was first from a computer, and then when it went from the computer, we had to get a cab, and we basically, in a nutshell, only used the cab and built what was in the computer. So that's what's pretty cool about this truck. There is so many more things in this truck that I want to show you guys, and I will in the next episodes. But yeah, this was just a really good sit down to show you guys, you know, some of this truck, and really just to say, you know, I feel like everyone's doing Lamborghinis, everyone's getting supercars, and this truck is on a different level. I mean, yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love, and I wish I could afford a supercar, but this thing's hand built, and this is a supercar. 150%, and I honestly think it would outperform a supercar in a lot of things it can do, and it is just unique and different. I just want to thank you guys for hopping on here with me. Really getting to understand one of my builds means a lot. Again, we have a lot of stuff happening, so if you guys are into cars, vehicles, trucks, I don't really care what it is, and I like to see something different than everyone else, don't forget to subscribe and comment below what you guys thought of this build, and maybe if you guys have any ideas on what we should build next, I would love to hear that too. But again, don't forget to subscribe. I'm on Instagram, it's Brad DeBerti, Facebook's Brad DeBerti, TikTok, just search Brad DeBerti and you'll find me. But yeah, let's get the next episode going next week, and see you guys then. You guys have a blessed day.